everyone, welcome to this playthrough for Expert Division in the Metro Open Tournament. This video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. So let's go with hole number 1. So we're going to play this one a bit more aggressive than normally. We're going to go with max topspin and as much side spin to the left as possible, trying to get to the fairway there on top. In worst case scenario, we're going to land into the bunker or in the rough, but we're going to have no problem from that distance to reach for the green anyway. The only thing that we do find ourselves to do is that we do make it possible for us to get a much easier second shot, at least going towards the pin. So we're going to go with almost max overpower here. Might be a bit too much here. We are adding 10% extra to our drive due to that we are playing downhill. So as you can see here, the ball gets nice bounces, but gets into the rough there. So as I said, worst case scenario, we get into the rough. And with this particular shot, we're going to have a very nice opportunity to get this ball in the hole for an eagle here directly on hole number 1. Before we take our second shot, take a look in the video description down below. There you can see direct timestamp for every hole in this playthrough. That will help you if you already know how to play hole number 1. Then you can go and skip and go to hole number 2, or you can go to hole number 4, or whatever hole you might want to watch. Also check out patreon.com/golfclashtommy for training sessions and also getting the text guides before everyone else. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do, and you will get content daily here from us in Team Tommy. So now the second shot here, we're going to play with the rough iron, of course, and we do have the Nirvana level 7. As you can see here, we are very close to the pin here, and the only thing that we do want to do is to really stay away from the fringe, but we can't do that because we don't have enough backspin for it. So the thing that we're going to do is to use the fringe, but always as it is with the fringe, it's going to give us inconsistent bounces. I think we did over adjust that one tiny little bit as well, and we missed it due to the right side. Nonetheless, good attempt for an eagle already on hole number 1. Hole number 2, we're going to play 10% extra as well. And what I mean with 10% extra is that you're going to have to adjust more. Why? Because we're playing downhill. Always when you play downhill, you're going to have to add more to your adjustment. Let's say you would be having 10 miles per hour in wind. Then you would have to see that 10 miles per hour as an 11 miles per hour wind instead. For 10% in 10 miles per hour is 1 mile per hour. 10 plus 1 is 11, and there you get 11 instead, which means that the value of your rings is going to be worth more, which means that you're going to have, the value of the rings is going to be the same, but as we do have more to adjust for, we're going to adjust more rings. 4.5 bar backspin, and we're going to go with 5 bars of side spin to the right. We're going to have this club as a plus 8 yards with Goliath level 8. We're having the red ring just cutting the rough there on the right. We're going to adjust this one for 5 rings, and then we're going to go with no curl whatsoever. We do hit it great, which is a bit unfortunate, but we're getting this one very, very close. And as you could see here, with a perfect, we would have come a little bit more to the left and would have gained a little bit more distance. And that would have been most likely, not most likely, but maybe spot on when it comes to that shot. Now we come to hole number 3, the first par 5, and also a par 5 which is going to be very, I would have to say, tricky. The reason it's tricky is that you need to put your drive as in a max overpower situation. Sure, you can play with a big topper, go with the top spin, absolutely, but in the end I do believe that we do need to have a little bit more distance with it, because we need to counter for that. If we do cut the rough and roll out, we're going to have a problem for us. It's going to be a problem for us to reach for the green in 2, even though with the wind that we're going to have. So the thing that I'm going to do here is that I'm going to go full overpower. I'm going to use a berserker and also the drive with as much distance as possible. Here on this account it's going to be an Apocalypse level 5, but you can play with a Extra Mile level 8 to 7, 6, 5, doesn't really matter. Play with the one that you do have the most distance with. Berserker Ball, now when Playdemic gave out 12 Berserker Balls to each and every player here in the game due to a server problem a little while back, then definitely pull out one of those, give yourself an easier attempt to reach over the rough here. So we reach over the rough and we get into the other rough. And why aren't I mad about that? The reason I'm not mad about that is that we're still going to be able to reach easily towards the green from the rough. And even if we would be finding ourselves on the fairway, we would be having the, not maybe the same type of difficulty, but the shot would be still as difficult, which would put ourselves in a situation where like we can rather take a riskier drive, but we will gain more distance, and then we know for certain that we're going to get this ball to land on the green in 2, instead of having to maybe go with a bit like more technical drive and then risk cutting the rough and go short and not be able to reach. So it's basically a judgment call really. So now we do have the Nirvana here, max backspin. We're going to stretch it out to see really how far we will be able to reach max overpower and then adjust our way from here. We're going to adjust 6 rings from this position, which is going to be too little. We need to adjust like 8 or 9 rings here due to tailwind, due to the extended ball guideline. And as you can see here, we're coming in way too hot here and getting to the back of the green. But again, it's going to be no problem for us to get this ball to stay on the green and have a very easy putt to make an eagle here for hole number 3. And that is what we're looking for. Hole number 4, max side spin and 1.5 a bar of backspin. If we do have the arrow pointing more to north, which would be more tailwind, then we need to add to 1 bar of backspin. We need to find this particular spot with before the bumpy part. We're going to adjust the sniper for 1-on-1, which means that we're going to adjust it for 1 ring per mile per hour. So 7.6 is going to give us 7.6 rings. Then we need to go with 50% of the ball outside to the right in curl. Now we did go with just a tiny bit too much curl, and you can see that with the result as well, that we did get it a little bit too much to the right, but still in the end it's definitely a very, very good shot, and we will definitely take that shot with us when it comes to going through to the next round. So our opponent is going to try something different, and yeah, it might work, it might not. I don't like to play in that center there. The reason I don't like it is because it's so bumpy. And when it's bumpy, we can't rely on the ball guideline in the same way we can do if we are aiming at the position where I did aim. So our opponent cut the rough here, rolls to the fringe. Shouldn't be a problem to ship it in from this position. But in the end, it's definitely going to be easier for you if you play with your sniper from the position where I showed you. So, hole number 5, and here is a hole that I really, really like. Max side spin, 5 bars of top spin. We're going to adjust our driver for being in medium distance of our club plus 10%. So we're going to adjust 10% extra due to us playing downhill. Important here to let this ball do the work. Don't go with a bunch of curl. Use the side spin and use the top spin. 4.8 rings. As you can see, no curl. We hit it perfect, and we're going to land this ball up nice and easy here on the right side. The yardage we are looking for here is 335 to 340. So 337 is going to be absolutely excellent. But 335 to 340, then I know we're going to adjust the thorn in max distance and with a little bit specific way, and that I'm going to show you just in a little bit. So our opponent is going to try to do the same. It looks like he's going to come in too high here, but in the end it's going to be working. And the beauty with this particular shot is that if you're going to reach over here, even if you bounce into the rough or into the bunker, you're still going to have no problem to get this ball to the green in two. So our turn, we're going to go with max backspin here with the thorn. And as I said, I liked the position we had. Max backspin, we're going to give it one square to the left of the pin, just because we're going to get a push from the wind. Then we're going to adjust max numbers. So even though we are in medium distance of our club, we're going to play it as max distance. So we're going to play this one 5.2 rings. And now it's all about to hit the ball perfect. We don't! So we miss it here with the short iron. But as you can see here, it's coming in very, very nicely. And with a perfect shot, we never know, but it would have been even closer at least. So, and our opponent here, as you can see, with the rough iron, going to be no problem whatsoever to get this one up to the green, and therefore take that route when it comes to getting over to the right side. It's very important to do so, in my opinion. So, as you can see here, he's landing this one on the green. And we are going to go and focus on hole number 6. Hole number 6, par 5 again. And it's not going to be that good of an albatross opportunity, in my opinion. I think you should be seeing this one as an eagle hole and focus a bit more on the par 4s and the par 3s that we do have in the tournament. First, now we're going to play this one. We're going to go with our driver in max distance. So it doesn't really matter if, as we are playing with Apocalypse 5 or Extra Mile or whatever it is, we're still going to play in max distance of our club. Then we're going to adjust with 10% extra as well, which is going to give us 6.3, 6.4. We're going to add a little bit there, 6.3, 6.4. And then we're going to go with no curl because we don't need it, because we're using as much side spin to the left as possible. Get it to bounce nicely there. With 5 bars of topspin, we're going to bounce over the bunker even if we hit the ball great. And that is very important, in my opinion, to have in mind that you don't need to go with full blast overpower. Use the wind, as it's going to give you that extended ball guideline when it comes to that shot. Now for the second shot, we are going to give ourselves a sniper attempt here, and this is a very tough one. I understand that there will be some players that is playing with a rough bump. I'm not going to play with a rough bump. I don't believe we're going to gain more advantage by doing so. Then I rely more about bouncing my ball on the fairway. And nonetheless, it's going to be a very tough albatross opportunity. We are in medium distance of our club, so we're going to play with mid numbers. 6 bars of backspin, as much side spin to the right as possible. It's not possible to use max side spin with a kingmaker when having 6 bars of backspin. 8.4 in wind, and we're going to give our sniper first 5 rings. Then we're going to go and add down to 7.5 rings. And then we're going to go with a tiny bit of curl to the right, because we want our ball to be pushed a little bit in air going towards the pin. Sure, we can use the back of the green to let the ball fall back down, but I like to go a little bit more aggressive towards the pin and try to get the albatross there for hole number 6. I'm not adding anything to elevation or like for downhill or uphill for hole number 6 for the second shot. 10% for the first shot. Hole number 7, the last of the par 4, is also a good opportunity. Here we do want to find a position with our ball that which is going to be around 250 yard mark. If we can reach 250 yards and do have the Goliath, then we're going to get a huge advantage because we're going to have a really good opportunity there. So 4.2 rings, which is going to be medium distance of our club with 10% extra because we're playing downhill. Max backspin on the extra mile level 8, and just let the ball stop there nicely there in the shadow gives us 249, absolutely perfect. And from this distance we're going to have a Goliath that definitely is going to go towards the pin. So our opponent's going to do the same here. They just lay it up, and it's nothing special there. You might wonder why we don't go on the more open fairway on the left. The reason for that is that we're going to have the trees just by the green in our way, so we're going to not be able to go for the pin directly if we're going to go straight up to the left. Then we need to find this position here, and also bouncing over the water here is not going to give us an advantage, it's going to give us a disadvantage because we're going to have the trees in our way again. Here from this position we're going to be able to make the ball have the second bounce below the tree, and we would be having the first time the ball is in the air amongst the tree. That is going to be tougher. From this distance we're not going to add anything, even though it's a bit downhill. We are just going to use max numbers, which is going to be 5 rings, and we're going to go max side spin, 1 bar of the backspin, no curl. We're just going to let the backspin take the ball when it comes in here. So we hit it perfect, and we're getting it in, coming in nicely, and it slows down, and it come in close to the right side, but in the end we miss a little bit too much to the right. Hole number 8, the last of the par 3s, and this is definitely going to be a par 3 which I do believe you should just be focusing on getting a birdie. So a birdie here is crucial, of course, but also, is it easy to get the albatross? Nah, it's not. It's not. So we're definitely going to what can I say? It's definitely going to be a tough one here. We need to play the sniper in for max distance here, and we're also going to add 10% to our adjustment, and 10% due to its downhill. I'm going to let the ball come up here. The risky part that we do take here, if we go too much with backspin or with too much backspin, then we can risk roll back downhill again, which is potentially would be putting ourselves in the rough, and that is not something that we do want to do. So now we're going to go with 5.5 bar of backspin and 5.5 bar of side spin to the right. And we're going to aim up, so the second bounce is going to be at the position where the hole is at. 8.5, and we're going to give ourselves, we do have 5. And then we're going to add, so we're going to go with 8.3 rings and slight curl to the right here. And in the end, as you can see with the result here, we don't need to use the curl. We're going to get the ball up there nice and easy. If we would be staying away from the curl, we would have been more close to the pin. But in the end, it's a safe birdie, and that is what we're looking for here on hole number 8. Hole number 9, last but not least, and here we're going to see some different approaches amongst the player in the game. And our opponent is going to choose the middle here with a slice. For me, nah, I'm not going to go with a slice. I'm going to play a very safe drive on the right side, putting myself up for a second shot, which is going to be with overpower, but I will call it safe because even if we slice this particular shot here, we're going to find ourselves in many of the cases in the rough on the other side or on the rough on the island. But even if we get to the other side and get into the island, sorry, into the rough, we're going to have a very tough time to reach for the green here in 2, because we're going to have crosswind, we're going to have to use a berserker, and the crosswind is going to push us way to the left, and we are not going to have enough curl with our rough iron to curl it against the wind that hard, which is going to be difficult for us. 4 bars of side spin. We're not going to go with any backspin whatsoever. Extra mile level 8, we're looking for the 3+ yard mark. And as you see here, we do have half of the red ring in the rough on the left. Max numbers here, we're not adding anything for elevation, so we're playing 3.9 rings. And we're going to not use any curl whatsoever. We're just going to let the ball do the work, get a nice and easy bounce here, rolling towards the top, finding ourselves in a position where we reach 319 yards, which is going to be good because this means that we're going to reach with an overpowered shot. So our opponent, as you can see here, is having a even harder time to get in that position, you know. So now our turn, 7.6, we're going to go with as much side spin to the right as possible combined with 5 bars of topspin. The 5 bars of topspin is going to give ourselves the option here to bounce in the rough and roll out to the fairway. You can go with 6 bars of topspin as well, but believe me, 5 bars is going to be enough, but you do have to use a little bit more overpower. Now I'm going to go with almost max curl, like iPad curl, and going to go with almost max overpower. Hit it around 80% overpower, get it to bounce in the rough and roll out there on the fairway. The ball slows down because we did get a double bounce in the rough, but still from this position we're going to have no problem to wedge it in for an eagle. So this was the playthrough for Expert Division in the Metro Open Tournament. Video here is sponsored by Golf Clash and Playdemic. If you do have any questions, please make a comment in the comment section below. Good luck in the Metro Open Tournament.